All right, and we're live. Mary, do you want to do your?
Yes. You are watching the live, unedited version of Sunday Morning Linux Review. If you would like to listen to the final version that is clearly edited and well honed, we suggest you go to smlr.us. If you just want to watch us, all of our flubs and things, you can continue watching this. Thanks. Oh, by the way, I have.
Actually, we might have a problem. Oh, oh no, it is coming through.
It is.
Okay, I thought we had an audio problem. It wasn't coming through on the YouTube.
No.
But it looks like it is a little bit.
It is. Test, test.
Test, test.
Are you expecting higher meter readings?
Actually, that's typically where it is. It's
Oh,
somewhat
okay.
low. I wonder. Hold on. Hold
All
on
right.
with us, listeners, as we are. Do we have anybody viewing yet?
No. So hold on,
Oh,
Owen.
microphone is cranked. See, the microphone's cranked up.
Uh-huh. Is there? Hmm, what about? Do you still use ALSA? You ever gone into ALSA comp,
No.
ALSA mixer or whatever it is from the command line? And
Yeah, it's that one. Now let's look at that now. It's a little bit better. Okay.
all right.
I use just the default pulse audio
Oh, pulse.
sound settings,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have
Put together by the
PAVU.
same guy that put together System D.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
Yes.
There's gonna be some hate.
I said that. I was kind of joking, but anyway. But
It
it's
might
true
be.
though.
Oh,
You know it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Leonard Pottering. He also put together Pulse Audio, which I hated actually for 2 years. And I think finally it's gotten more polished where it's not bad because you can have different things on you can really selectively increase or decrease the audio for different things playing.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It does work.
Once it started working properly. So okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right, where are we? Getting ready to.
Yeah, we're getting ready to run the intro.
All right.
The Sunday Morning Linux Review. Starring Mary Talmadge, Tony Venus, and Matt Enders as the beaver.
And this is episode 156.
Yes, SMLR 1.9.
That's right. And we are calling it that because we're actually going to, we have some details of how we're going to change it up. And this will be the last show of the old format.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So 199999.
9999. And we'll actually be back in 3 weeks with our newly formatted show.
That's right.
Which means we're going to have to sit down and make sure that we've got we finalize that. And
That seems like beer would be involved in a meeting.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we practiced that one already.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a few reasons that both Tom and I are going to be out in 2 weeks out of town. So that's why we're pushing it to 3 weeks.
Different activities, but same time.
That's
Just
right.
coincidental.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going on vacation too, right?
I am going camping, so
Yeah.
I'll be unplugging from electronics and stuff. And
Nice.
yeah.
That's good to do. Kind of decompress.
I'll-
Kind of the same thing. I'm going to a water park with the kids, which means I can't have electronics.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sure.
So I'll try and control my anxiety and just go
You'll
back
be
to the phone
fine.
at night.
Oh, you'll be fine. And 2 weeks after you guys go on vacation, I'll be on vacation on the 30th or that weekend of the 29th and 30th. And I'll be I won't be without electronics, but I won't have my phone because I'll have my phone, but it won't be working because I'll be in Canada.
Oh.
I'll be in Toronto. Well, unless you make arrangements, or want to pay a lot of money.
Yeah. Turn it
Right.
off or pay roaming.
Or maybe maybe I should set up to go through the wireless. There you go.
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Yep.
There you
You
go.
can call through Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
There we
Make calls.
go.
Yeah.
So I won't be without technology, it seems then. So anyway, well, so Tony, what's quick catch up on any stuff you've been up to?
Yeah. The last couple
Software
weeks I've
otherwise,
been old non-computer stuff. I've been working on a trailer for. We had to fix it up for camping. We don't have any room in our van anymore. Uh,
Oh.
so I tore it down completely, wire brushed, cleaned it all up, and put 3 coats of paint on it. And
Hmm.
yesterday, I just got the wood sides back on, and I almost had a ringectomy. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
You know,
Yes.
yeah, Jimmy Kimmel or no, Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon.
yeah.
Yes.
He had it where his finger was like ripped
Yeah.
off. I came pretty close to that because I was moving. There's it's a 4x8 3/4 inch plywood, so it's fairly heavy, and I was putting it into place, and it was at some kind of, I don't know if you can see on the video, it was at an angle. It was like
30
I don't
degrees.
know, yeah,
maybe?
30 degrees. And I grabbed the bottom part, and it was probably 3 or 4 inches away from the back. Um, there's a piece of board and then the piece of metal.
My finger hurts
And
already.
I went to lift on it, and it slid faster toward than I thought. And my hand got caught between that board and the
Oh.
thing. And I had to figure out, like, do I just yank up really hard on this and hope that nothing
My
breaks?
finger stays with me. Stays with
Because
my hand.
both hands were
Oh.
caught. I couldn't
Wow.
move. The kid, everybody was inside. It just happened to be that I had a neighbor. I didn't know he was outside until after this was all done, but I could have yelled for help. But
But yeah, like.
I yanked it, and the trailer was blocked up at this point. I didn't have any
Uh-huh.
wheels or no hubs or anything on it, but I lifted so hard on it that just to get that off my fingers, I lifted the entire trailer up off the blocks and then got my hands out, and it all fell down. And it was just a scary like minute there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hey, but
I'm
you
not
got time
bruised or
of-
anything. I thought I'd have bruises across my
Mhm.
fingers here, but
Mhm.
I'm all good.
All right. Little excitement.
Yeah. But as for like software and electronic stuff,
Yeah. Anything.
I've been working
You've
on
been
setting
doing
up that
anything?
computer for my kids.
How's that going?
I found one called Kimo. It's QIMO, like Eskimo.
I think
I
I've
think
seen it
I've seen
before.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got like an Eskimo logo on it.
yeah, Eskimo and,
Yeah.
and a polar bear. It looks really cool, except for the like 3.0 was supposed to come out a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So 2.0 was from a year before that,
Oh, okay.
and it was built on Ubuntu 10.4.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Really old. So I tried to do 2 upgrades through it and broke all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go on to a couple other things, and we got some suggestions from in listener mail. So we thought I'd talk a little bit more about it when that comes up. But
Okay.
but yeah,
Cool.
how about you guys, Mary?
Well, I'm inching closer to upgrading my home desktop to KD, KD 15.4 with the Plasma 5 desktop.
Oh,
But I started to, and it just didn't seem to want to do it. So I'm back to just letting it sit there. But then they're starting to come out with the alphas for 15.10, and I'm thinking I don't want to get 2 versions behind. I did that once, and I had to do update after update just to try to get everything
Yeah.
caught up. So I started grappling with that a little bit, and then I dropped my Python course because
oh,
I procrastinated, did not plan my time. I'm taking responsibility for this and being accountable. I did not being accountable for being not accountable or not taking responsibility
Yeah.
for my time management. So I got a little bit behind, and I just thought, I'm not going to, with other things I have going on, I'm not going to take it now. I'll take it later. So I dropped it, unfortunately. But that's okay. It'll be out there again. It's on Coursera, and I'll take it up later. So
All
those are
right.
really the main things I did. I think I talked about my PCBSD update last episode, so that's still working fine.
very
And
nice.
you, Tom?
Well, we managed to fry a PF Sense server at my office with the storm that rolled through. That was fun.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, it only burned out. Well, the hard drive apparently, I don't know what happened, but it has a bunch of
Mhm.
read errors on it and some fun stuff going on. But the restore process didn't go as smooth as I'd hoped because apparently, in my haste of backing up the last XML file, I
Mhm.
didn't upload all of it.
Oh, really?
It was weird. It was
Okay.
missing an end. Good news is I always keep several revisions. We have a revisioning system, which sometime I'll actually talk about how that revisioning system works.
Mhm.
It uses an rsync system to keep
Okay.
file revisions for me. So I just
Mhm.
went to one further back, which was 2 little firewall changes we made for. We had some QoS problems with our VoIP phones, and I added to it.
Mhm.
So that was the exciting thing that happened. Somehow the power kept flickering on and off, and it made the UPS then flicker because it kept browning and coming back real fast.
Oh,
So
So
sure,
then it
sure.
just shut down and abruptly, but then it started booting. And while it was running a file system check on the
Mhm.
server, it shot down again, and that's what seemed to have caused it.
Oh
That's our
no.
best guess.
Is it now? And that happened even though it's in a surge protector? Or?
Yeah, because it just kept shutting on and off. So it didn't
Okay.
get it surge, but it kept turning on and off. And while it was doing the file system check
Uh-huh.
on reboot,
Sure.
it shut down again because the power was flickering at our office. So
You
What?
said it was on a UPS. I'm surprised the UPS would
Yeah, because mine,
affect
we
that.
lost power last week for about 4 hours or 5 hours, and my battery backups kicked in, and that allowed me to
yeah,
shut down my system. Because I mean, it's just it's not like a generator thing; it's just a
we
battery.
also learned our UPS
shut it
batteries
down.
are bad.
Yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
don't they? But when mine went bad, they beep. They started beeping.
Oh, it beeps now. Apparently, it didn't know they were bad until this power outage either.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Which I
that
know.
was tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just like a cascading failure.
Sure.
You think you have everything set, and somehow the system happens.
But nice recovery, though. I mean, the fact that you had subsequent backups and
And
you
I
could.
knew they had to be
Mhm.
replaced. I knew by their age, but it was one of those when they broke. And sometimes you get a little cheap. Well, the batteries I think are $300 for the UPS. And like I know they don't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the other servers are fine, so they never
Okay.
problem
Hey.
there. Other little fun project, and this kind of dovetails into the Chrysler security issue. We're doing a lot of infrastructure building for Chrysler right now at their dealerships
Mhm.
because they plug a car in before they open the hood now. And
And
of
it's
course,
web dev? No,
yeah.
just kidding.
So we're putting and they don't want everything wireless. They want everything hardwired in. So there's being security conscious, and we're putting in every service
Mhm.
bay is getting all new, network jacks in, all
Hey.
hardlined in for all
Wow.
the equipment. That way, the service techs have, instant access secured from end to end, essentially internally on their network instead of just through Wi-Fi devices. They can plug them in. So
Mhm.
we're actually right now, even though it's 7:50 a.m., my guys are still working on it because we have
Hmm.
to work on the off hours. So we started last night at 9 p.m. and we're going to work right through the weekend,
Wow.
Wow.
nonstop. I got just rotation
Yep.
crews there because this is when it can be done because they don't want you in the way.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah,
makes
that
sense.
makes sense. Yeah.
They don't want you in the way while those cars come in for recalls and getting fixed.
So far they haven't had a ton of people come in, which really shocks me with all this news. I'm like, if I had seen this in the news and I owned a new Jeep, I would be driving right over to the dealership.
And
Yeah,
those
really.
those issues haven't even impacted Jeep sales. They say. I mean, they're
Right.
just going like gangbusters.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for them, but they obviously have a few issues they got to fix, which
Yeah.
they're in the process of doing.
Yeah.
After that
Well,
heavy fine.
They're trying to fix it by quashing the guys who want to talk about it because that seems like the solution.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Tell
Well,
anyone there's a
companies
problem.
do that though.
Yes.
Microsoft is notorious. Well, maybe they were notorious for doing that about now, but
Well, it's like the famous with the Ford Pinto. There was bean counters that calculated, okay, Ford Pintos could possibly be rear-ended and explode, but how much would the recall cost or how much would the lawsuit cost? Let's not recall it.
Right.
that is exactly how they figure this stuff out.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Chevy did that with the side impact gas tanks on the early Chevy trucks that were made in the 70s and early 80s. Same calculation was done.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, which
That's
is
crazy.
I mean, that's how companies. I mean, that's how it's
Oh.
done. What's less
What's
costly?
less expensive?
Yeah.
Payouts or recalls?
Yeah.
Huh.
Life
Yeah.
or death.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure if you're the family, it's calculated a little differently.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
cool. So we'll
We're going on to
Matt, what's happening with the Colonel?
Colonel News.
all right.
And
Actually, we
I
started.
don't know if we have any Colonel
we do
News,
have
do we?
some. We do have a little bit, I think. A couple weeks ago on my Google Plus stream, I sent out a little post about the North Korean Linux distribution.
Mm.
And Tom, you had, or before we started recording, you had mentioned something that you had learned about that particular
Yes.
distribution involving its kernel.
Yes.
And I think now would be a good time to
Yeah, it's a
kind of
good-
share that.
Yeah.
So
Kernel
the
News.
Red Star Linux, I believe is what it's called.
Yep, it is.
Yes. They apparently have a mod they did to the kernel. When you load Red Star Linux in the wonderful Grand People's Republic, I forget what it's called. Anyways, North Korea,
Kim's country.
Kim's country there. They have a kernel embedded tagging system that basically looks for any media files and puts a tag in there. It creates some type of hash that includes any information about the computer and the system it was on, and they use it so they can track dissidents who distribute things. Apparently, South Korean soap operas are contraband, but very popular distribution of
Really?
materials. So it's funny, some things. Of course, any material can be
That's
tagged
funny.
in there. I forget what all the media extensions, but it's basically looking for any media file or photographs that they can embed this in and hide it in. And then it allows them to track all the places and all the other computers that this was on. And so it's kind of a scary thing, but it gives the government that much more level of control.
Mhm.
You know, I was thinking, I've always thought before it would be kind of interesting if our government switched everything to Linux and contributed back to the open source code. But then it kind of scares me when I see what these guys did. And of course, I don't think they're contributing this back to the GPL, but
Right.
Yeah, that patch.
yeah, add the patch in there. I think it
probably
is
not.
right for a security exploit though, because it runs at the kernel at root level. If someone
Mhm.
writes a media file that allows it to read and then code execute something to start taking over all these machines, it could be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
change it all to Kim Jong Il's computer.
That would be funny.
Make it look like he shared all these files.
Oh well, he did execute some. I think there's somebody that was executed for falling asleep at a meeting.
Oh.
It happened.
Oh my God, by him. So
Well, they get extra sleep.
he
now.
didn't personally execute them, but I think he ordered it.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, that's some interesting kernel
Yeah,
kind of kernel news.
Maybe we should get. There's copies available of this somewhere, so maybe we can get a copy and install it, and we'll do a review of North
Yeah.
Korea's Red Star Linux.
Oh,
It's
do it
a
on a
cool
virtual.
name.
Well, if you did it on
Yeah.
a virtual machine, it'd probably be all right, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah,
I like their name, Red Star.
and
Linux.
actually the interface itself is fairly polished.
Yeah, and
Um,
they also limited they do not allow any root access on there. So when you get it, you only have user. It has its own update system that's very automated. So they have put some work
Mhm.
into it. I forget which
Mhm.
distribution it's based on, but they've made some modifications to it. So
Ubuntu.
Wow.
No, just kidding. I don't know. Well, I mean, it would be a good start simply because it's
well
well
supported.
established. Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool.
all right. So I guess I don't have any kernel tidbits or
No.
what have you. And Tony,
I
it
don't
looks
either.
like you don't either.
I don't either.
All
So
right.
I guess we go on to
Tony, what's going on with the Linux distributions this week?
the distros for this bye week. What was our last recording date? I can't remember.
The first one that we should have on here this week would be I'm
From the
sorry, I'm not even
19th.
answering your question. I'm answering the question, where do we start? Which would be I think Pizzy Linux, which is just a little off the screen. And what you probably because I
Let me
think what they did,
refresh. Yeah.
I think what they did is they released a KDE version of it. So if you go down to the bottom there, you'll see it. July. A little further down. There it is, right there.
Busy Linux. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. It's the
That's
one
right,
that has
yeah.
the cat for the icon.
Yeah, because Pizzy is kitty in Turkish.
Really?
And not only that, but Pizzy also stands for packages installed as intended, or installed successfully as intended.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's kind of a double meaning to that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, Pizzy Linux, in addition, I think this particular release is the KDE release, but in addition to the KDE desktop, you also can get it with LXDE or XFCE, and they've got actually it was originally based on Pardus, which hasn't had a release in about 2 years, and Pardus, I believe, is Turkish for leopard. So there's kind of a feline angle to I guess these Turkish Linux distros, but they did borrow quite heavily, obviously, from Pardus. And they have got there was something called the Comar, which allowed them to do a lot of configuration at I think when you at boot time, or at least when you're setting up your system. But uh, even though I think, uh, oh, never mind. I think that's pretty much all I got to say about it, actually. So
Nice. Thank you, Mary.
yeah, started strong and ended weak, I think is how I'd call that. All right.
All right. On the 20th, we have Neptune
Mhm.
4.4,
Yep.
which they're debbing based. And on the
Oh yeah, just a note. I didn't realize you were done. But one thing that they've got in this particular release, it comes with Kden Live installed, and it now I guess they've got it this plugin. And Tom, you do a lot with Kden Live. You're probably aware of the is it vid.stab, the extension, which it what it does is it handles stabilizing video. So if you're on a
Yes.
bike and it's the
Yes,
video.
I've been playing with that with my motorcycles.
Okay, how does it work? I
Not
mean,
bad. It seems to be pretty good.
Uh-huh.
I haven't done extensive testing because I just seen it and
Okay.
I've seen some updates to it. They've had it in there for a little while, but they've been adding more features to it to
Mhm.
make it even better.
yeah,
I still keep saying I'm gonna do it every week. I'm gonna do my review of the Caden Live software, but I want to show some of those features in there.
Mhm.
So it does help.
Yeah.
It's just so cool, and you can do all the features. It's weird though, because it's harder to find because it's a right click context menu. It's not
Oh.
where the other plugins are. I don't.
that's why I couldn't find it because
That-
I was trying to.
You have to stabilize it
Mhm.
separately because
Okay.
the way it uses a separate library. So if you go to where your media library is on there and you right click on the file,
Mhm.
not on the video, because most of the plugins they apply to a clip in the timeline. You apply stabilization to the entire video. So you right click on the video in the library. And that's
I
why
see.
and that confuses people because they don't see there's a different menu and then the stabilization is a sub menu under that.
Mhm.
Because if you
Uh.
want to reverse or rotate the video, you don't do it you can do it in the clip, but you can actually take the entire video and just fix something in it by right clicking on that entire clip.
I'll be an avid listener to your review of Kaden because I was trying to put together a movie and I had some shots that were at a 90-degree
Right.
angle. I wanted to just take those clips and move those.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah.
So there's some features like that. You can actually do fine grain rotation too, so you can not just flip it, but do some adjustment. Which when my helmet can got crooked on my head from hitting a tree, I turned it a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that
Cool.
works out.
Just one final thing on Neptune, just to get us back on track. But that was a great digression, let me tell you. The light system users are going to benefit from some fixes that they put in place to what's called the snapshot manager, and it features a bunch of predefined snapshots to try out. So I was kind of looking at Neptune actually, if I don't continue with Kubuntu. So
Yeah, cool.
all right,
All right, next up on the 21st, we have CLDM, which is actually the Calculate Linux desktop for Mate
there you
with
go.
Mate. So this is the first time that they've released the Mate version as a separate release now.
Yeah, and they've you can get it still for both 32-bit and 64-bit systems, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Cool. On the 22nd, we have Backbox Linux 4.3, and this is a Ubuntu based, but for a collection for designed for penetration testing and forensics analysis.
Mm-hmm. That also you get either 62 or 34-bit. Yeah, there we go. 32 or 64, but their upgrade process for this version is a little involved. I mean, you do the apt-get, but there are some additional Ruby steps you've got to take in order to get the system fully upgraded. So just a heads up. I mean, people who are already using it are probably aware of that, but if you're thinking if you haven't used it much and you're going to try to upgrade, the nice thing is the site's got a nice, clearly defined list of what you got to go through. So,
Cool. Yeah.
all right.
All right. Next up, we have Robo Linux 8.1. And they're also Debian based, but you've looked at this in the past, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And actually, this release, they have added quite a few tools to this particular distribution. They've got private internet access, VPN. They've also added the Invisible Internet Project, the I2P.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Oh,
they've
that
got
looks
that.
interesting.
They've also got a utility that will do or added a utility to do the root. It's called Rootkit Check, which will search the local system for signs that it's infected with a rootkit. The Tor anonymous browser, which the pseudo anonymous browser,
Pseudo-anonymous.
Right.
and then Tor anonymous chat. They've got the Robo Linux Stealth Text Vault, and it basically uses StegHide to. It's a steganography program that will hide bits of text inside other files such as images, that type of thing. So yeah, it just goes on. BleachBit, on and on and on.
BleachBit's nice too.
Yeah, the last one. Have you guys heard about something called? I think it's pronounced John Doe. It's or John Doe. It's John Dunham, and it's It's from basically John Doe and Anonymous, and it protects your privacy on the internet. It makes anonymous web surfing possible. Are you familiar with that?
I've
No,
never,
I-
no,
no.
Yeah, so this particular release of Robo Linux is really they've amped up their privacy and other security related features.
yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'll have to look into that because
yeah.
more people are looking for more and more ways to anonymously browse, and that might be even one of my topics that I do a good blog post about is some of these things like that.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
anyway,
very
but
cool.
that was what I saw on them.
And you can also get it in cinnamon. That's what I use. So maybe I'll do that with cinnamon desktop.
Oh,
That does look really cool.
yeah,
Robo Linux.
Robo Linux.
I'm getting ready to reload my main machine, and so maybe I'll decide if I want to keep going with Ubuntu. I like Ubuntu on my desktop, and the reason is just because I have so many things I run that all work great.
And that's
Yeah.
Like
that's
my video
why
editing and things
Ubuntu.
like
Yep.
that. I've tried other distributions. Just get in dependency hell trying to get all of the libraries to work with my video editing. That's because I do so much of that for my business and my personal. It gets to be one of the headaches. I can run anything else on any of my general use laptops. Most all those utilities I use for general network diagnostics, no problem. But when it comes to my desktop where I do my editing work, also Ubuntu support for quad monitors is great. It works great, and I have the big setup at my office like that.
Yeah.
So it becomes another problem where dual monitors, any distribution seems to have no problem with. Once you go to the cards where it's a single card with 4 outputs or 8 outputs,
Oh, okay.
the driver support. I know someone's going to hammer on me going, well, it's a non-GPL driver. Sorry. I mean, I need it.
Yeah. And it works.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll use a GPL one when someone writes it.
Well,
Right.
it's purism versus practical.
Yeah, at some point.
I mean, it's I can understand both sides, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, if you need to do something, then go for it. is
Yep.
my
Yeah.
mantra.
All right. Next
Okay.
up on our list, we have on the 22nd is Red Hat Linux 6.7. So it's an update for Red Hat. Yeah.
That's about it.
Right. And then the next one we have is ROSA R6 Desktop Fresh. And
I didn't even really take a look and see what's in that, and it looks like it's a major one too.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, their icon set. I saved their icon set, and I use it on other distributions when I change icons.
Yeah, a lot of times they do a full icon update also with updates. So I wonder if they have
So
the
you-
new set.
Maybe. Are
Okay.
they using Plasma? I wonder if they're using Plasma. No, it doesn't look
Just
like
as KD desktop.
4.14.8, so it looks like they're not. I think Plasma Desktop is just still slightly unfinished.
Yeah.
Based on my take. But anyway, next.
All right. Next up we have is PF Sense 2.2.4, which we were just talking about PF Sense earlier.
Yep.
So there's an update for
What
that.
was that server you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the
one that-
firewall.
What file system does that use?
Just the-
UFS?
Yeah, just UFS on that.
Okay.
And I like because this does go into the discussion. It does have some file system corruption recoveries. That's better. I could have used that.
Right.
And I'll admit, because when it crashed, being a few days, it was before we had updated to this version. So could this version have saved me? I don't
Maybe.
know.
Oh,
We're on
no.
it now.
Yeah. You'll know next time.
We'll know next time.
Yeah. All right. Next is on the 28th, we have Vector Linux 7.1 Lite version.
All right.
which they're Slackware based with the lightweight ISDM or ICE WM as their window manager.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we have Web Converger 3 dot or 31.0, which that's a uh, kiosk, web kiosk.
Mm-hmm.
And next one we have Oracle Linux 6.7, and we kind of
Well, isn't
expect
that
that
funny? It
because
just
it's
came out.
right. It's based on the Red Hat Linux.
It is.
Black Panther OS 14.1. And they're a KDE 4 desktop,
Yeah.
based on Mandriva or a fork from Mandriva.
Mm-hmm.
It looks interesting. I don't remember seeing that before.
Yeah, they haven't. They've been around for a while. I recall them being a part of our one of our Is It Alive options.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And actually, let me just do a quick check here. Their last release was back in 2011.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if that's because they're oh, not because, but they code named it Walking Dead.
That
So
could be.
maybe it's been
That
so
could
long.
be because they first came out, or at least they made DistroWatch back in 2004, and then then they were quiet for 5 years. Had a couple of things back out. They had a couple things in 2009, dead for two, not dead but dormant for two, as far as release goes, and then they just had this major release. So
Back on the scene. All
yeah.
right.
so maybe worth checking out.
Yeah.
At least you'll know what major updates for a while.
Right.
All right.
All right. We have Zorin OS 10.0 on the first, which was yesterday.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And one that just came out this morning is Aurora 22, which they're a Fedora-based desktop with Cinnamon, GNOME, KDE 5, Mate, and XFCE. And that's codenamed Selena.
Yeah. So if you like KDE 4 and you run Corora, I would suggest you don't upgrade to this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you
You
very
know
much,
what?
Tony.
That's funny. Right in the release notes, they say that too. If you wish not to upgrade to KDE 5,
Oh,
please stick with Core 21.
oh, that is funny. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny.
All right. And then now we're going on to the top 5 for the week.
For the last 7 days.
For the last 7 days.
Yeah.
That's right. We have number 5 is Fedora with 963.
Yep, and that is it is trending up.
Yeah. Number 4 is OpenSUSE with 1471.
Oh, and that's trending down.
Number 3 is Ubuntu with 1509.
And that's on its way up.
Number 2 is Debian with 2014.
And that's up. That's going up.
Yeah. And then the number 1 spot is Mint with 3097.
And that's going up. I tell you, that's top 3 are Debian based.
Yeah.
Well, one of them is actually Debian.
Yeah, it was actually Debian.
Right.
Debian or its derivatives. So
That's
pretty
right.
cool. All right. Well, thank you, Tony.
All right. So, you know what are we going on to next?
We're going on to the distro review.
Oh yeah, here we have the soundbite. Oh, go away. There we go. Sorry. All right.
What distro are you reviewing this week, Mary?
That was smooth.
Yeah, really.
So what am I reviewing this week, this episode? Well, actually, I was recently contacted by Martin Wimpress. And Martin, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. He's project leader for Ubuntu Mate. He was interested in my take on Ubuntu Mate. His timing was great because I had not started putting together a review of my previous selection, which was Go Bang Linux. All I had done was put together a dozen jokes involving its name, but I hadn't actually sat down to do the review. That's its actual name, Go Bang Linux. And I thought, oh my God, we'll have a great time with that distro review.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I put that aside and decided to take a look at Ubuntu Mate. So first, the vitals. Of course, the name is Ubuntu Mate, and this the release I took a look at is 15.4, and the maintainer is Martin Wimpress, and plus the team. The distro's latest birthday was April 24, 2015. Of course, it's a derivative of Debian. The kernel involved is 3.19.0-25, and of course, the reviewed desktop is Mate, or Mate, as some people call it, which I do not. Um, I of course booted it up to a live environment, and a couple things I typically check are what graphics it used, or whether my graphics and my wireless work fine. Well, the graphics chip that I use is the i915, and that worked perfectly well. The wireless is the Broadcom B43 wireless chip, or module, and it was loaded, but the drivers I don't think were available for the live version because I didn't have any way to activate the wireless without doing some driver download and taking care of it that way. I decided not to do that and just wait till I do a live install, because when I did install Ubuntu Mate, my wireless connection worked flawlessly. So
Oh,
yeah, so for some reason the live environment's not available, but it is once you get it installed. So, and I suspect that if you've got a Intel wireless chip, it should work without a problem. The defaults, well, the browser is Firefox. The Office suite is LibreOffice 4.4.2.2. Mail client is Thunderbird, and the file manager is Kaja, which was forked from Nautilus. The Ubuntu Mate, again, the desktop, of course, looks quite a bit like the GNOME 2 environment because I think it was a fork from GNOME 2. So you've got your two panels. You've got your notifications and menus at the top, and then you've got your actively running tasks and program panel at the bottom. And the trash icon is also, and desktop switcher is also at the bottom. Now, the install process, you've got the option, of course, to install a super user, which makes perfect sense to me, and the install process is very smooth. I opted to let Ubuntu Mate install over the entire disk because because it's Ubuntu. Of course, it's very solid and carefree. I just sat back and let it do its thing, and then I rebooted to a clean Mate desktop. Now, one of the first things I do with an Ubuntu install is to disable those Ubuntu sound effects. I don't like hearing that little drum
Yes.
sound every time I close a window
I
or
agree.
take some other action. Now, on Ubuntu Mate, it's very easy to do. You just go into the control center sound and uncheck the enable windows and button sounds. So I get rid of that right away. The next thing I wanted to change was the login process. I just wanted to automatically log into my desktop. Now, in the KDE environment, when you do that, you'll automatically get your desktop once you go through the boot and login process, the automated login process. Um, but with Ubuntu Mate, this setting really, all it does is it will present a box with your name on it, and the password box is gone. So you then have to select. You don't select anything. Your name is there, and you just kind of hit enter, and you go in. Now, I was kind of expecting that it would automatically log into the desktop, but I can see this being a very helpful way if you've got more than one user on the system, then they can just select and go in that way. But that's how it's done. Let's see here. But of course, I don't want to be a whiner about it. My next stop is the file manager. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Dolphin, the KDE file manager. So rightly or wrongly, it tends to be the baseline against which other file managers are compared. For example, I believe a file manager should provide two-pane browsing. Just when you're copying and pasting in
I
a file
like that.
manager, I like it too.
I was upset that it got removed from the later versions of Ubuntu.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to say that Kaja fulfills the requirement nicely under the view extra pane thing, so it's there. Now, I went in then tried to set it as a default so that when I open up Kaja, it would just automatically default to two-pane. And I went in through edit preferences, views. There are quite a few options in this category, but two-pane is not there. So what happens is every time you open Kaja, you open in single pane, you've got to hit, the shortcut key is F3. So that'll open the two-pane browser environment for you. So I think a nice improvement for Kaja would be just to add that as an option so that by default you can. So. Let's see here. Okay, another feature Kaja supports is tabs. So if you right-click on an item in the left panel and select Open in a tab, the tab appears at the top of the viewing panel. Well, it sort of appears. I did not see the familiar tab graphic, that little flap that kind of goes up. But I did see the name of the directory with an X to close it. Apparently the color theme was what my problem was, because when I changed the color theme and went back in and looked, there it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was nice to see, and it worked again just fine. The left panel in Kaja displayed a browse network option. It threw an internal error the first I attempted to use it. Kaja closed, and then it appeared to place a shortcut to my home directory on the desktop. At least I didn't recall seeing it before, and then it suddenly was there. Maybe I just missed it. And the second time I tried it, an error was thrown, and again, and Kaja closed. Later, I tried a third time because I'm always of the belief the third time is the charm, not that doing something again and expecting a different result. I'm not. I don't subscribe to that usually. But anyway, so this time my Windows box was listed as a device on the network. And also there was like a second Samba device. So I attempted to open the device. Now the file manager crashed a few seconds later and an internal error appeared. The second attempt then produced a login prompt to that device on the network. So something's going on in the background. It wasn't really clear to me. But aside from those little issues, I think Kaja seemed to be a capable, lighter weight file manager for use in Mate, and it seemed to, just for regular file and folder browsing, seemed to be pretty capable. Now, I also took a look at the backup program, which I think is Deja Du. But now, usually when I open up a program, you get that little help menu option. You drop it down. I just check the name of the program if it's not readily available. Well, there wasn't one there, but based on some images I looked at after I Googled it, that's what I think it was. Let's see here. There were no previous backups, so I attempted to start a backup on the fly using the Backup Now button, which is what appears when you first open their backup option. I assumed it was going to walk me through a series of decisions resulting in the backup being created. However, it failed with a volume does not implement mount message. This message is probably confusing to less knowledgeable users. What I later learned is that it's assumed you have already set up your backup configuration, source, destination, etc. when you use that Backup Now. But a new user would probably think, oh, I'm going to be able to back up now, and then this little esoteric error shows up. But once I went through the panel, the options on the left panel, set up my source, my destination, and to create my backup, it ran and completed without a problem. I was also able to restore my backup successfully. After the initial backup was created, that Backup Now button then worked just fine. Did not throw the error and allowed me to immediately start backing up my data. Aside from that confusing issue with the button, creating and restoring a backup was easy and flawless. I mean, it worked perfectly except for that little confusion thing. So it would seem to me that what they could do to improve that is just to say, if somebody clicks Backup Now, it would then walk them through those steps that are available in the left panel. Just a thought, if backup doesn't exist. Now, there are a few other interesting programs that were available. There's the Mate System Monitor. This provides a real-time status of various system components such as CPU history, memory, and swap history, network history. It's real-time, and I love graphs because it really gives you.
Use it.
Yeah, it gives
It
you
works
some
great.
it gives you some really nice graphs. And again, the system each time hack as it continues to move in real time lets you see how it fluctuates. There's also something called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's GUVC GovCView. GovCView. This is a webcam program. It can record and take not only video but also snapshots. Now I tested the video recording and it worked flawlessly. I really like the fact. I mean, there are times when some distros where I try to use like is it cheese or there may not be a driver loaded or something not available or library, but this thing worked perfectly. Great. Yep, without a problem. Mm-hmm. Also included was Simple Scan. I went ahead and plugged in my scanner and fired this thing up, and it easily and correctly scanned the image I had placed in my scanner. Let's see here. So my rating on Ubuntu Mate is if you're looking for a smaller footprint for your desktop, Ubuntu Mate is something you should consider. Aside from those minor issues with the backup, or a little bit of confusion with the backup, and then that network browse situation I encountered, I'm considering putting this on my netbook because it right now is running the full Kubuntu, full Kubuntu with Plasma Desktop on 2 gigs of RAM. Not too good. It waits and waits. So I'm thinking of maybe putting this on there and then reconfiguring it to place all the panels and all my stuff at the bottom like I like it. So if you folks are looking for something smaller and more lightweight as far as footprint and requirements.
And Martin Wimpress announced on his Google, if you didn't see this, the version 15.10 will not include the Ubuntu Software Center.
Aha.
So yeah, he just announced that just the other day.
Oh really? Okay. I didn't see that, or maybe I did see that and just didn't.
Yeah, it's gonna be in the 15. Well, he's removing it from the 15.10 version. I kind of like his post. He goes, "There, I've done it. I will not feature the Ubuntu Mate 1510 Alpha 2. You can stop sending me messages about it now."
Yeah. So, yep, give Ubuntu Mate a try for
Yeah.
your system if you've got one there that you want to
No,
check
it looks
on.
really interesting.
Yeah.
I might try because I'm looking
Yeah.
at reloading on my desktop, and maybe I'll give this one a try for that.
Mhm.
Being it's Ubuntu based, it should support all my.
Oh, the other thing too I wanted to mention is it has something called Tilda, and I meant to mention that a little earlier. Um, and when I tried to use Tilda, what happened is like a little. Here's what was confusing to me. I then went out to the the interwebs, and did a Google search for Tilda in Mate. And what it is it's a Yaquake like terminal, which will drop down when you hit F12.
Ah,
But here's what happens is when I attempted to use it from the application's menu, this little stub of a terminal opened in the upper left corner of my monitor. There's no window frame around it or anything. And I thought, well, maybe it's just a quick hit command use thing. And by typing exit and enter, was able to close it. I then went ahead and hit F12, and then the nice full tilde terminal opened up for me. And yeah, it is like a Yaquake, and really a
cool.
nice way to use
I
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Because I find myself using terminal. I mean, the quickest way to tell when I plug in like one of my external card directional drives how much space is left is DF-SH. It'll
Mhm.
jump it right to the screen. That's so I'm finding little commands like that I just execute from time to time, and it would be handy to have that on there. So
Yeah, and again, F12, and it just is there. It's kind of like well, this is Yaquake, but it's just like
yeah,
that.
but yeah, drops
So,
right down. I like that.
So anyway, yep. So Martin, I liked Ubuntu Mate, and I am seriously considering putting it on my netbook. So
I'll look at it on my desktop.
yeah.
I don't use the software center anyway, so that only gets me happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So there you have it.
Cool. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And we're moving on to
We're moving on to
It's time for the tech news of the week.
the news this week.
yeah.
And I know you guys were talking a little bit more about it earlier, but the some of the Chrysler hacks and stuff. Do you want to go in depth and talk about that? Or?
Sure, we can run down that real quick. So the Jeep hacking, and Jeep was just the system they chose because it's one of the Chrysler flagships. These guys, they're the same guys that did some previous car hacks, and they kind of got downplayed because he needed physical access. Well, the Jeep Uconnect system, I believe it uses Sprint or T-Mobile, has cellular access to all the Jeeps for data. They were able to upload new firmware and disable things like the transmission. They were able to do a brake override. And of course, like any true hacker, they changed the background photo on the entertainment system to be their smiling faces.
That's funny.
That's probably my favorite part of that. But they were able to. And here's the thing, they got a lot of people upset with the way they did it because he did it to a Jeep that was on the freeway driving. I mean, the guy was aware it was going to happen to the Jeep, but
Still was scary though.
it's
I mean,
still
you saw the
scary.
video.
Yeah, it's still scary. It gets dangerous. But they
Mhm.
did it for impact. We wouldn't be talking about it if they didn't do a
Yeah, that's
moving
true.
vehicle. So
Yeah.
think of how how you want. They really wanted to prove the point and hit it home. This affects everything with the Uconnect system, which, as I understand, is about 465,000 cars and more being sold right now. But we're assuming the ones being sold right now have the firmware fixed in there. But that means at least almost 500,000 vehicles are out there that can be scanned with this exploit, and the information is going to be covered at the next DEF CON. So that's only a few days away now.
Right. And as you were saying earlier, is that this is over the internet. So they could be sitting at their house doing this and
Yes.
having not even nowhere near the car.
And spoofing
being-
their.
yeah.
I mean, you will. And these
Yes.
people would not even know where this came from, would they? These people who would be affected by
Right,
it.
because of the way Uconnect
So-
constantly connects in there, and I don't know the details of how they did it because they haven't released everything, but apparently they can scan for these, and because it's on, they know the IP blocks it's going to be on because it's using this Sprint cellular system. That's
Sprint.
I think it's Sprint or
Oh,
T-Mobile. One of
really?
them is
Okay.
one of those two companies is who they're releasing it from.
Yeah.
So they
Oh.
understand how to look for these devices. That's how they
sure.
can find it. So
And it
once
would
they
be
do-
a block within that too.
exactly.
Once you
so
find that, okay.
so they know where to scan. They've already localized that, and once you're in there, and what really blows my mind, so they're able to push firmware updates to do this to give them control, but Chrysler can't push a firmware update to fix it. And that
Right.
just puzzles me. I'm just,
Apparently, Chrysler doesn't know their software as well as these hackers do.
yeah, I'm thinking these guys need a job. I mean,
What they should do is they should contact those hackers and give them a consulting contract for like 2 months.
yeah,
Pay them very well to get that thing
I'm,
fixed.
yeah, I'm
Just
not.
bite the bullet, deal with a little bit of embarrassment, and
I'll
get it
be
done.
really watching their. I'll watch their talk at DEF CON because I'm really
Mhm.
fascinated of how they did this. And it's going to be interesting. I'm sure Chrysler will be there watching her talk at DEF CON with some lawyers.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely a concern. And I mentioned earlier, I mean, even one of the projects we're doing right now is we're putting in a lot of infrastructure for some of the Chrysler dealerships at my business because they need hard lines to everything. I mean, they plug the car in to the network before they open the hood because they do all the diagnostics on these and
Mhm.
they're doing the updates. And to add just a little insult to injury, and I don't know why they haven't fixed it, I went and looked at the spot where you downloads. I was wondering how you updated a Jeep. I'm wondering if this is a service I could
This
offer
is
for
this
people.
is
I'll
this
come
is
out and update your
embarrassing.
Jeep. They didn't use SSL on the site where you download the firmware.
Oh,
Can we
jeez.
say man in the middle?
Yeah.
Why don't you email them and tell them?
They've been notified by
Okay,
it. Yes.
all right.
I actually wasn't the first to discover this. It was part of the discussion, and apparently it's been tweeted quite a bit. So they're aware, but the same place that didn't think to secure the firmware. I'm assuming part of the attack means there's not proper signing of the certificate for the
Mhm.
firmware, and that's how these guys were able to get it. There's got
Okay,
to be something related to that of how they spoof the sign.
sure.
Wow. Yeah.
So you'd think Chrysler would keep that really tight, but well, they changed their face to the infotainment system. Oh, to make it more annoying, they also can turn the radio to max volume while they're disabling the transmission, and they can turn the heat on or AC on at their will
Wow.
remotely.
So can I.
Yeah.
I can just flip the switch. Wow, yeah. I tell you, I saw that video. It was kind of. I was thinking, wow, if I were
It's
in
scary.
that car, even if I knew it, it would be kind of scary. I mean, just
And the automotives need to look different. I mean, you got to remember, Tesla has had automatic updates over the air for a long time.
mhm.
But if you really follow anything Tesla, they look at themselves as a tech company that happens to produce cars. Chrysler or other the automotives are very behind. You look at versions they use. When they were announcing what version of Android they were going to use, 2.3 was going in some of the brand new 2015 Kias for their
What?
systems on there. Yes, and it's like, guys, this is what are you doing here? And granted, it only gives limited amounts of
Mhm.
controls. But when they said, "Hey, we're going to introduce Android," I got excited, and I looked at it, going, "What are you not using the latest version?" Yeah, and that's how automotives unfortunately work.
What was that?
Yeah.
Eclair or something?
Gingerbread, I
Oh,
think.
gingerbread.
I think that's
Okay.
gingerbread.
All right.
So yeah, that's in the automotive companies. They look at things a little bit different. We understand that there's safety concerns and things like that, but
Mhm.
is why that's their excuse for doing it. But look at what's happened because of this. And why would the entertainment system, which is actually the starting point, it was for the previous cars that they had to have physical access, how would I have the same bus running the entertainment system that eventually leaks to the ABS system? You can see that there should be some air gaps in that. They should be separated systems. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, it's right though. I mean, see, it just depends on their focus. And you were talking
Mhm.
about Tesla, where they come at it from a different
Different angle.
perspective, where you have car companies moving and putting technology into their cars versus somebody who has a technology mindset getting into
Right.
automobiles. And I
Starting
think
with the latest tech.
that's really key.
Right.
Yeah, it's a different perspective
Mhm.
on how you run the company.
Yeah, I really think air gap is the best way, but at the same time, the info system needs to gather data from from the rest of the system, like the speed and
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
and whatever. But you can make that a read only, or you
Yeah,
don't have
there's-
to give it read write access.
There was an article a while ago, and it was how a couple power companies came up with a strategy of taking out the physical network pairs so they could only transmit, not receive data. So they could monitor their systems, but there was no way to hack them by just they physically would modify the cables. So everything it was a weird article, but essentially there's just made no way for anyone to reverse engineer. So they didn't do it at like a protocol level. They did it at the physical level to read
Wow.
everything.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but
Well-
that way I forget it
And
was
if you do it over UDP, then you could just push the data and doesn't
right.
have
You
to
push
have.
the data one direction, and then there's just no worries about it. And obviously they sacrifice it for convenience because infotainment system undoubtedly has live
Mhm.
GPS feed, which is the cellular, and they're like, hey, that's connected to GPS and cellular for updates. why don't we make a hole in that to update the firmware for the braking system and the transmission shift points? That way we can send it out over the air.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not a good idea.
right. I'm sure that's kind of the thought logic that went into building it. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's an incredible piece of hack, though. That's hats off to those guys that reverse engineered it, and at least they've given Chrysler some notice. There's the firmware updates out there now.
Mm-hmm.
It's now we got to update our Jeeps just like we update our distros.
Right.
Let me reboot my car real quick.
Oh,
But
huh.
actually, if you
Scary.
think about it, to reboot, I mean, I guess you could probably do it in software to say reboot, but to do a hard, like shut it off, and you have to go and unplug the battery.
Yep, disable the
Because-
PCM module. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Huh.
Crazy.
it's interesting to think about. I kind of like.
And then
my
now
older
in the newer
vehicles now.
cars, they're
Yeah.
hiding all the batteries and stuff too. So
Yes.
it's
Yes,
getting
that
harder
makes
and
it
harder to
difficult.
do all of that.
Well, that's because that forces you to go into the dealership or to the repair shop to get
Right.
your stuff done. I mean, so.
Yeah, when you pop the hood now, I mean, look at the cars now. They're so much different. I mean, everything's completely covered in plastics. They use no easy access to it. The
Mhm.
fact that they actually have USB on these, that's how they update the Jeeps. And I don't have a new Jeep, so I don't know, but I'm curious. I've been asking a couple of my friends if any of them have the newest one with it. I just want to see how it works. I want to see how the update works myself because it's really piqued my curiosity here
Mhm.
to think that you got to take a thumb drive, download a file off your computer, and plug it into your car to update it. I mean,
Right.
of course, I also think I'm like, because you can't do that in a Tesla. Everything I'm a cellular. They just update.
Oh, yeah.
It was funny. They fixed the windshield wiper problem in a Tesla, and the customers were amazed because they push them overnight. They wait till the cars are stopped, and they push through the updates. And they've not had any security issues with it. But they said they thought about this a lot because
Yeah.
you got the
From
guy,
the right perspective.
you got the guy founded PayPal, and they put a lot of security and thought into that. His high level tech background for running banking systems to building cars. So
That's right. And when you design it with security in mind,
when you start with
That's a
security
big-
from the beginning,
yeah.
exactly.
All right.
cool. So what else do you guys have?
Well, I've got an article that was in Wired magazine last week that I thought was pretty interesting. It's open source is going even more open because it has to. And I think in previous episodes we've talked about licenses, we've talked about companies collaborating and how the BSD license is well, at least when Matt was Matt's position on it was that the BSD license is better because it's less.
Mhm.
And that really, and the BSD Foundation, or at least the BSD's approach to it was similar because they figure that the less restrictive they are with their licensing, the more people are going to use it, which then gets it out there to the community at large, or at least to
Yes.
companies at large. And then that means then that it's easier to put standards in place, etc. So what Google did last week is they gave away all rights to their Kubernetes. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Cloud computing system that was originally designed by Google engineers, and they have asked a nonprofit to manage its development. Now, what they're doing, and what I think companies are starting to do now is to set up these nonprofits to manage this open source stuff, so that you don't have that kind of competitive.
Right. That's a great idea.
Yeah, where everybody works together on that project at the foundation level, and then companies can go ahead and use use it after the fact. But it's nice that that's happening in an open way like that, and it really kind of fosters the whole open source concept, and I think it'll make the world a better place.
Yes.
So anyway, but I found that a really pretty interesting article. So.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and I think I want to say that the Riley Open Source at the Riley Open Source conference last week, they talked a little bit about that. As a matter of fact, the Cloud Foundry Foundation CEO Sam Ramji, he said that the whole shift is driven by economics. They want companies want others to use their stuff since it helps drive the use of online services and other tools and things.
Awesome.
So that was my news item.
I had a couple. I thought it was interesting. The National Cancer Society is looking at moving all their stuff to open source on all their mission critical back end. So Then the article goes on to
Hmm.
say a lot more companies are looking at all their mission critical stuff and going, we might want to look at some Linux servers on the back end.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of dovetails in. I already see people in the open source community complaining, going, well, some of these large companies won't be big contributors back. But I think if they're using it, you end up with Linux people in the building and you can
Mhm.
start having some culture change. It's interesting when you see, we're dealing with one of our clients now that we do some project work for. The new tech guy that comes in,
Mhm.
he hates all things open source and verbally reprimanded us for some of the projects we installed, like pfSense. They're changing a lot of stuff in there. We still help them out with some of the projects, but this new guy, he's kind of a pain in the butt. And
Wow.
Microsoft fanboy might be an understatement for
Wow.
my description of him.
Yeah.
I won't say, I need a swear jar to say what I really think, but
We have one, but it's been empty for the last
Yeah.
month.
Right.
but so I think once you start having companies where they decide that, and you start changing the culture in the IT department too,
Mhm.
which is kind of nice because eventually
Yeah.
they're going to promote one guy's going to retire, they're going to promote a guy from within who they hired because he loves open source. So I like that as a trend on there. So yeah, the American Cancer Society is
Mhm.
company
Makes perfect
charity.
sense.
And I think a lot of it has to do with Windows 10, which is another little news piece if anyone's heard of it.
Oh yeah.
Or been forced to download it or been annoyed with a pop-up. And I don't know, to me that seems very intrusive. If you have Windows 7 or Windows 8, you have this little pop-up. Get Windows 10 for free. Reserve your copy now. Reserve it?
Yeah, really.
Is there a limited number of licenses you're giving away for free?
Well, I think that you get it for 1 year for free.
Yes, the first year
And that
the
may be
upgrades
why,
are
but
free.
yeah. Reserve your copy.
Yes.
Oh, just marketing hype.
It's marketing hype.
Darn
And
marketing
Microsoft
people.
is trying to get everyone on the same platform.
Yeah.
They're going to a rolling release, and I wonder where they got that idea from. Any distros might do that?
Ubuntu.
Yeah. Well, Arch is a.
Oh, Arch. Yeah. What am I saying?
Yeah. Ubuntu, I'm hoping gets there, but Arch
Yeah,
does
you're
the
right.
rolling release.
I had the wrong distro.
But there's of course the privacy concerns.
Mhm.
One of them is BitLocker, which is the encryption format that they use. I've always thought it probably has some backdoors on it. So far, no one's ever found them. We didn't even see them in any of the Snowden files yet. That there's a backdoor for it, but Microsoft's encryption seems to be pretty solid. But if you have OneDrive, you have OneDrive account with your Windows 10, it will upload your BitLocker for backup purposes. Now,
Your BitLocker.
your BitLocker key.
Okay.
So, to back it up just in case. And I'm like, well, if it's on Microsoft servers, we've already known Microsoft and had some pretty good black eye because they were releasing bugs to the NSA to let them know prior to them going through Windows Update that came out to light. So we have already know by their hand being forced or by willing cooperation that they've been doing this. Well, now you've got one more reason not to use OneDrive with your Windows 10. And Windows 10 does bug you when you load it to sign in with a live account, or you won't get all the cool features like, having your key backed up or having all your voice logged, or the other feature of having all the MD5 files, created MD5s to look for hashes. They scan through your files. And of course, they're doing this for your own good because they're fighting child pornography. That's trying to play on your heartstrings here. Because if you're against this, you must be for the child pornographers. No, you don't need to check MD5 hashes to look for suspicious, because if they have an MD5 hash for some document you have on there that they deem you're not supposed to have, or the authorities deem you're not supposed to have, well, that becomes very subjective material. So what if you have a movie that you downloaded on there, and undoubtedly Hollywood is behind a lot of this. They can go, wait a minute, that MD5 hash is the same as the new Jurassic Park, and you happen to have that file on your private computer.
And we're taking it off.
We're going to remove it. We're going to report you to authorities, whatever they're going to do.
Wasn't that the same concept that Amazon put in place with their WhisperNet a few years ago with Kindle when it first came out?
Yes.
I think some people had certain things. I can recall there was like a book that was on people's Kindles that just was removed by Amazon.
Well, and that was even worse because you'd purchase the book and it was a DRM through there. And they had the option, because the book publisher had signed a deal. The deal went south. They had to remove it through some type of legal. Well, you already paid for the book, and they could remove it remotely after you download it. And that was part of their WhisperNet, which I don't think was a great idea. I mean, because I bought it. I bought it when there wasn't the legal problem. Your legal problems shouldn't affect me after purchase. Because if you bought a physical book, they can't go, hey, everyone turn that book back in. That publisher didn't like the deal we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to come back.
That's why I don't buy. I stay away from ebooks if I can.
Right. So those are the couple issues. Cortana, the talking system in there, logs everything you do, and we all want to talk to our computers. We all thought it was a cool future thing back in the 80s, but we didn't realize it was
Yep.
going to go to a cloud server that the government had access to constantly, because it does not do anything local. It actually contacts the cloud for all the voice recognition.
Now,
keeps a log of that.
if you're using your microphone for other activities, let's say you're in a webinar and you're talking in a webinar,
Mhm.
it's not recording that, is it?
I don't think so, but of course
Okay.
it is a closed source product.
Right.
What is it recording or not recording?
What I was explaining is
Mhm.
you have to click on it and then talk.
Yes.
Kind of like on your phone for the OK
Oh.
Google.
Yeah.
On my phones, I have it where you have to hold down the button. It brings up the Google search first, and then you say it.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
and so you have to be able to click on it. It's not just sitting there listening the entire time, as far as what I was explained.
Right. It doesn't look like that's how it's doing it, because I loaded Windows 10 in a virtual and played around with it a lot. And it does do that where you have to click on it, but
Yeah.
that's it's still logging everything you search for, and of course it goes to Bing, so I don't know how useful it is anyways.
Right. Well, the reason I was interested in how it worked is because my cousin, actually, he works at Microsoft. He's one of the developers. He's working on the IoT stuff
Oh,
for
okay.
Microsoft. But he was talking
Mm.
about how my aunt, she's blind, and he's like, "Oh, you got to, as soon as Windows 10 come out, you have to upgrade, because then you get Cortana, and then you could just talk to it." And I'm like, "But you have to click on it before you start talking, right?" And she's blind, so
I think there's hot words, and you can turn this on. And this was, I think we talked about the last show, some of the controversy of accidentally turning it on by default for Ubuntu, but where you just say "Okay Google" and your computer is always listening. What they do is they have a local binary blob they keep that listens for the hot words, and that way it can do some things locally without constantly persistently sending data. That's how Google does it. They actually have a binary blob in their Chrome browser that allows for that. So you can, if you turn on the hot words, OK Google automatically wakes up your browser and does it. So it is always listening, but it's actually not transmitting the data while it's listening. I'm pretty sure there's a feature like that within Cortana as well.
Yeah, we're probably killing a lot of people's phones right now and phones and
Maybe said,
browsers.
OK Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have to ban saying that.
Right.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So forced updates too. That's an interesting feature in Windows 10. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, I
If
heard all
you-
about it.
Yeah, if you're on any of the home versions, you can't delay or do anything to stop the updates. They come. Simple as
Mhm.
that.
And
Yeah,
you don't even have total control over your updates on the premium version, or you can delay them. You've got more
Yes.
control, but ultimately you are going to have to.
And only Enterprise
Succumb.
will get a full pinning of delaying features. I think they can delay some of
Mhm.
the Enterprise deployments for up to a year.
Okay.
If I read that. So that's only with your ultimate versions for Enterprise. And I think that comes with some of your software service agreements that
Yeah.
large corporations have.
Probably through a SUS server or SMS or something.
Yeah, they
Or
have some
no, what is-
other. I'm not clear on how the method works.
SCCM is the new version of that, but
Yeah, whatever the latest one's called. So
Yeah. Cool. I found one article, and it's entitled "Real World Use of Linux Multipath TCP." So I don't know. A few years ago, there was um, a for the kernel. It wasn't implemented into the kernel, but there's this piece of code that allows you to use multipath TCP. So you can have two different connections going to the same server, and it runs the same session.
Didn't we talk about that when I had my two internet connections? And
That's a little bit different.
Oh,
mhm.
Multi-WAN and multipath is
Okay.
separate. Where it depends on how it does. Now, if multipath was implemented in with the multi-WAN,
mhm.
then that would work really good.
All
Because
right.
what it is, you can have one session, one TCP session, and it's going through two different sections or two different paths and reporting back the same, or
Right.
within, but with yours, what it was is going to be, it'd be like one session goes out one, and then the next session would go out the other, back and forth,
Mhm.
or one would be backup and the other would be a primary.
yeah, when they bond them like that, because if you start a session with one website's on one WAN and the other website's on the next WAN, so the session streams become separated based on some type of protocol that routes
Mhm.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you download a file, you're going to max out at your 20 meg. Where this, you would like if you had two 20 meg connections, it would span or combine them together, so you'd have like a 40 meg connection.
Mm.
Or if you had two 50 meg connections, you'd have 100 meg, blah blah blah, and you can ramp up from there. And they're saying now that there's um, a Korean um, cell phone maker. Is it? I think it's Samsung, right? Isn't it? Or one of them
Probably.
Probably
They're
is
they're
or
Korean.
all sorts of them are out there. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're putting that into their cell phones now,
Oh, that'd be neat.
and they've tested up to a gig connection
Mm.
because it'll go between both Wi-Fi and cellular. And I had a friend
Mm.
was telling me that the new version of I think it's T-Mobile
Mhm.
is implementing this.
That's pretty neat. There's actually an option in my phone, so to do that with my Samsung phone, it allows if you want to download something faster, it combines the two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that feature's actually on the latest update I got.
Well, that's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool. I should look see if my phone has that.
Yeah, but it asks
Mine
you.
does not, I'm sure.
Yeah. It does ask you though because it's going to use your cellular data plan, obviously. So it wants to because normally I'm on Wi-Fi, I use very little of my cellular data plan. I have a very low one because I'm on Wi-Fi everywhere I go.
Right.
So
Right.
it's less of an issue. But yeah, it asks you that question. I know it's an option. I forget what the actual features called in there, but that's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
I never really thought about how they were implementing it, but yeah, I just thought. But if they're doing this, that makes sense. Why one single download would be better? Because it's like I was like, I wonder how that works, but never looked into it.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that would definitely speed up a singular download because one downloads one session. Now you could split the sessions across two different pipes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's an article, and then in the article links back to 2013 article where LWN looked at how multipath TCP works. So if you're more interested in how it works, then take a look at it.
Very cool.
I have
Right.
one more if you guys, or did you have another one? You guys want to talk about any more? Or?
No, the only other thing I've got is just a KDE corner, but that's
Okay.
after the news.
Yeah, one more news article I have is Google and Oracle's endless Java copyright battle extends to 2016. So if you remember, we talked about
When
this
we
in the
last
past.
left
And,
Google and
Right.
Oracle, they were.
well, it first came up in 2010,
Mhm.
and that's where the Oracle was suing Google over using Java in Android.
Mhm.
And then in 2012, a judge disagreed and said, "No, it's not." So then
They appealed.
Oracle appealed, saying that it's maybe snippets of Java in
Uh-huh.
the APIs. Um, and so since 2014, the appeals court overturned the ruling,
Ooh,
and
I
apparently
remember that.
the
Yeah.
current judge doesn't like them bickering back and forth. So he says, "You know what? We're going to wait until 2016, spring of 2016, before this is heard." So
Because they were
uh,
bickering.
yeah.
Gosh. Hmm.
So that's where we're at with
Okay.
that. I thought it was just interesting.
Yeah.
That
I thought
keeps
the
on going on
previous-
forever and ever.
Yeah, and I thought the judge had one of the rulings, and I liked the way he worded it because they were arguing over variable names. And of course, this can get complicated pretty quick when you talk about variable names, containers,
Mhm.
and that when you're talking about a jury who's got to try and figure this out. But the judge have a good tech background, and he described it as a library of books, and you don't have rights to any book named "How to Fix Your Car," things
Yeah.
like that. You can't just claim that. So they tried to quash it from there, but obviously,
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like the smart judge quashed it, and then they appealed to probably some other judge that
yes, that doesn't
doesn't
understand.
know any. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes. Oh,
That's
and-
the problem with complex tech cases.
right.
You're the jurist or the judge hearing that case and the jury. They really need to understand technology.
Right, and if they don't, then whoever can explain it the best gets to define
Yep.
how they want it to be.
Hmm.
right. The plan to ban encryption over in the UK.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's falling away.
Ooh.
Terrible news. They're starting to understand you can't ban encryption.
Right.
It seemed that that this is government at work. A bunch of people don't understand it, and they go, "Wait a minute, people can secure things from us. Let's ban it.
Let's ban it. Yeah.
And how do you have online sales? I don't know if you'd heard of this in the UK. They actually had a bill introduced in Parliament to ban all encryption,
Oh,
like everything. You can't encrypt anything. Like you can't encrypt no HTTPS. You can't
I
encrypt anything that they don't have a back door to. Essentially,
I
Oh,
saw that. That was
yeah.
that was recently.
it doesn't work that way.
Because yeah.
That's
Wh-
horrible. Yeah.
When I
and-
think the U.S. is crazy, then England kind of one ups us a little bit.
well,
yeah,
then because of that, the U.S. is trying. It wants it similar. That they want a backdoor into all commercial encryption,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot of talk about it. I'm sure we've talked about it in the past,
yeah,
but there's experts are testifying to Congress saying you can't do this because if you let anybody have a backdoor, then everybody will end up having it.
Mhm.
So you can't securely do it for one person and not another.
Yeah.
Because whoever holds that key, they're just the people they're going to go after. The hackers are going to go after the person with the key. They get the
Mhm.
key, then then they have it also, and
Mhm.
and that's our corporate documents that are now being released because the government wanted access to it.
well,
Yeah.
in our government, this only gets worse if you've been following the OPM, Office of Personnel Management Data
Oh,
Breach in
that
the
hack?
government.
Yeah. I have.
Um,
I've not. I heard about it, but I haven't really followed. I heard it was bigger than first thought.
It's
Yeah.
It's not just bigger, it's worse
It's way bigger
because of what
Oh.
they got. And the government is dancing around the issue, going, "Okay, we can't say the word Chinese hackers, but it was Chinese hackers."
Right.
I don't know why you can't say that. Just say it because
Yeah,
it was.
that apparently creates a political problem.
But you ever
We
look
can't
at-
say that our neighbors that we're friendly with are
We're not
hacking
friendly with them.
I know.
Right.
We don't like China.
Well, yeah. So the
I like
the
the
thing
Chinese
that's worse
people,
about it is they
but-
have fingerprints now, right?
Yes. Now, because we have no way to one-way hash a fingerprint, we've not come up with a good standard for that. And not to mention, the OPM didn't even use any type of encryption, is which a lot of this.
That's bad.
But they literally have the scanned fingerprints as well. And
Mhm.
because there's no way to hash a fingerprint into something, they actually physically have the scans for them. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
is
isn't
that?
it though?
Watch China attack us.
This is live. This is live cyber attacks going on right now. It's through the
Mhm.
Norse Corp. And one thing people were kind of wondering why St. Louis seems to be a popular target.
Yeah.
You know why it is?
Huh.
It's the joint location for all military records,
Ah.
personnel records.
Ah,
So that's why St. Louis seems to be very popular. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then this is going. I was trying to figure out what's down there. By down there for people listening, yeah, what we have up is map.norsecorp, NORSE corp.com, and it basically shows real-time cyber attacks that are going on. And we were looking at in this location just off the coast of West Africa. There's a spot that is fairly busy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is exactly, but anyway,
It's where all the princes live that want to give you money.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, they're probably hacking
So-
out from there.
Yeah, but the OPM
But-
database, I mean, the company, so you got the government.
Oh yeah,
telling
getting
us
back to your.
well, they want a backdoor to all of our encryption, but they can't even keep their own house secure. I
Mhm.
mean, giving them the keys, it would just be a giant place to attack. If you gave them a set of keys, everyone would want them. I
Mhm.
mean, with this OPM attack, they got fingerprints, they have background information, medical information. So if you've done any contract work from the government, especially if you have security clearance, they have to question your family. I know because I've talked to my friends who are in the military,
Sure.
and when my friend went in, because I was one of his known friends to get his security clearance, I got a phone call. What do you think of Mr. So and so? They do very extensive background checks.
Sure. Sure.
Well, so my name is now on a file as someone who knows him, and that's now been breached because
Right.
he
Oh,
works for the
okay.
government.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because now they have all of your family's names, everything they need to know about you, which even includes
Mhm.
where your kids go to school, all kinds of little details were in there, and all of that data was breached. So they have everything to be you and know everything about you.
Mhm.
Right. Now, how far back does the data go? Do you remember? I
wasn't
thought I
clear
heard
on that.
85 or something. Do you
Yeah.
know? Or
I wasn't clear on exactly how many years was breached. It was quite a bit. I mean, and to think that it's 21.5 million people that have security clearance to the government at different levels. And of course, this documents what levels they
well,
have.
it's not current security clearance. Is anybody since 1985? So
Yeah.
I had a summer job working for the DoD,
Okay.
and so I'm part of that.
How long? Oh, back
for
in
3
the
months.
80s.
It was,
Download
no,
a
it was
copy, see
in
what they know about you.
2002.
Oh, okay.
So I'm part of that. But and I know Mary, you're in the Air Force.
Hmm.
I don't know when you were out there, so I don't know if you're part of this also. Or,
Oh, it was before the 80s.
oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
A little before the 80s. So,
So-
yeah, no,
So you're safe.
I think so,
Did you get a
except I
Did you
did
get a
have a
letter from
short
the
term.
OPM?
No, but I did have a short term job with the U.S. Postal Service. But I don't know. They're kind of a quasi independent agency, so I don't know if the records go back in through OPM or not. So,
Yeah,
but I've
I'm
not gotten
sure.
any
I don't
kind of
know.
notice, and that was back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
In the 90s, yeah, 90s.
Hmm.
So,
One
Hmm.
little last piece of news: the hardware manufacturer LibTrend has chose Ubuntu Mate as their default install.
Oh wow. We were just talking about that today.
yeah, excellent.
What is LibTrend?
They make hardware devices like small Linux pre-installed computer systems. Looks like they use them for kiosks, point of sale. So
Cool.
pretty slick.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, there is an island. It's the Sao Tome and Principe, and then there's never mind.
We're
Just
talking
looking at
about
Africa.
Africa.
Yeah. All
Oh,
right.
Something we can add to the show notes here is my 3D map of the DB and
Oh.
repositories. This is pretty cool.
It
The
is.
Oh,
link
that is
is
cool.
too long to
It's
send,
like a
but we'll add it.
globular cluster in the
Yes.
universe, and you can just drive right into it,
Yes.
navigate right through it,
And
it's
of
like,
course, you can use a mouse and WASD.
Oh yeah.
So I can go through it. It's just wild how fast it is. We'll definitely include this in the show notes because this is fun. But it does is it creates a dot for each one of the applications inside there, and then it has links to all the dependency of it to make the web of it. So it looks like you're navigating some type of star system. It's really slick.
Mhm.
You can click on it. It's interactive. You can search for packages. The size of the package depends on the popularity and things like that. So, but that's something fun to include in the show notes. Someone put some time into programming this to make it look really slick.
yeah.
That's really cool.
I don't know
It
how
is pretty cool.
functional, useful it is, but I can play around this for a while.
Yeah.
Flying through the Debian galaxy.
Yeah. All right.
All right. What's up next?
Just,
KDE corner?
just a little KDE corner. I just wanted to talk about this item quickly, and it was in a recent um, I'll say issue, but it's actually a recent page on the datamation.com website. And this is by Bruce Byfield, who is certainly a fairly frequent writer about open source software. But he talked about the failure of KDE activities. And for people who use KDE, they've probably seen those little three dots next to each other, and they may have pressed that little icon just to see what happens. And the problem is that not enough people have done that, and I think, according to the article, the fault may lie in that it really hasn't. The word and the marketing of it hasn't really gotten out, because what KDE activities are, it's a way for you to kind of uh, not containerize in a way to isolate, but to set up little workspaces that are specific for the kinds of activity you're doing. For example, Tom, if you do a lot of video editing,
Mhm.
maybe you want to set up an activity that has all these tools there and available for you. You set up a video editing activity, and then you can fire that up easily. You can have a completely separate set of tools available than you might have, say, in
Ah.
your. And it's a little different than the paging system that Linux has.
Mhm.
It's a little different than that. I mean, there's some similarities, but it is a little bit different. I one time I started setting up a podcast prep activity where I had news feeds and all sorts of things that were all set up for that.
Well, that's kind of neat. So then you could just save it.
Yeah.
Remembers like Windows positions and everything else. Maybe even it opens up certain folders. Is that?
Yeah, you can have certain folders available. You can, again, I think in the Unix paging system, you can also change the backgrounds of certain desktop pages when you go to them.
Okay.
Same thing here. I mean, so there's some similarities, but it's just
I like
that
that.
it just never really took off, and it was kind of unfortunate. Um, eh, Let me see here. Yeah, so they said it was kind of lost because it also came out without the full set of features too, and I think that probably
Yeah.
created some issues for it. Um, but they over time they've added features, but they've never really made a big splash with it. So I saw the article and I thought, yeah, it's hanging in there. I don't know. I don't know if actually if Plasma Desktop 5 has them. I'll probably find out though when I upgrade my home system to it
Yeah.
next week if I can get it going. So anyway, if you are running KDE 4.14 or anything, I think when did activities come in? I want to say it was 4.8. But anyway, if you're running it and you see that icon, that widget, go ahead and click it and play around with it. I had several set up, and I had one where it was set up like a netbook where I could have my desktop look like this netbook where you had these icons at the top, you had a search box, and then you had kind of clean space below it. So just a number of different ways you can set this thing up.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's part of my process before I start video editing. Is like I have all my
Mhm.
folders I open. Okay, I need the video I'm working on. I need my intro that I drag into it. Then I have my
Yeah.
audio library for if I need to put any sound into it. Just it's automated to me. I put my brain on autopilot and set it up. But it'd be nice if I had a button to click instead.
Yeah, it would be. So,
Cool.
all right. That was the only thing that I really had for it.
All right. For my security bit, I just ran across the headline. I didn't get to read the entire article, but it says Spotify used to track down fugitive.
Ooh,
So that sounded pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And what it says is this lady Brittany skipped a court date and where she was going to lose custody of her daughter, and then her and her husband
Mm-hmm.
went down to Mexico with, I assume, with the kid, and they tracked her down because somebody realized that she was using Spotify, and then the authorities went to Spotify to get the IP address of what she was listening with,
Mm-hmm.
and then was able to track her down. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, it just goes to if you're gonna if you need to disappear for one reason or another, you just have to cut yourself off from practically everything.
Yeah, burn everything you use
Mhm.
if you because you're going to be tracked.
Yeah, I
no
mean,
matter.
destroy your phone like Tom Brady. I mean, he's a good phone destroyer.
Who?
Tom Brady.
you didn't see that?
You
No,
didn't see
I didn't
that?
see that. What is that?
Tom, he's the Super Bowl winning quarterback for the New England Patriots,
Oh, right,
and
right.
that whole Deflate Gate. And so what happened is that these two equipment managers are getting kind of the sort of the scapegoats for this thing, or they've been suspended because these footballs were underinflated. Well, what Tom Brady did is his phone got destroyed, so they couldn't pull in text messages off it.
Oh,
So to me, that's almost an admission of guilt.
right.
I hate to say it,
And
but
they also the other one recently. Donald Trump tweeted the phone number because he was angry at some senator.
Lindsey Graham.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
So Lindsey Graham made a video of him smashing his cell phone.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, pretty clever response. Donald Trump.
Uh.
Any ideas that kind of could be reasonable are just lost in the bombast that
Yeah.
he.
He's
Oh.
I love that Huffington Post moved him to the entertainment section. They said
Yes.
all further news, and Donald Trump is now under the entertainment section.
That was
That's
very funny. Yeah, that was very funny.
We
Well,
moved him out of politics.
well placed too. I tell you, well placed.
But what you're talking about with this couple from Colorado that got caught is funny because they had that other guy who liked his own mugshot that they posted at the police department. And once they found him on Facebook for liking his own mugshot, they tracked him down.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
I love that, liking your own mugshot.
Yeah. Jeez. All right.
Okay, what do we have next? Listener feedback.
Listener feedback. At some point we need to talk about the new format of the show.
That, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So,
seems legit.
do you want to do it now,
Sure.
or do you want to do listener feedback?
Listener feedback. Let's get it.
Okay,
You said
listener
it, let's do
feedback. All right. So soundbite.
It's listener feedback time.
And-
our phone number is 734 258 7009. So give us a call, email us at show@smlr.us, and let us know what you're thinking. Or we have forums on the website also, which the first email we got is from Sean Leduc, and I don't think it went to you guys. I think he sent it straight to me.
I didn't see it.
Where he's a friend of the show, where he donated to us, and he works
Oh, yes.
at Matt's old work. Um, and he says that he used to be a audio. He worked for AV in the past, so that he is willing to come over and help us with some of the audio issues. And I said, well, listen to the last couple of shows because I think I fixed the problem we had that one day. Um, but if not, maybe he's going to be by at the next show because he only lives a couple miles from
Oh,
here.
yeah,
Also,
that would be great.
yeah. And then he also said regarding the PC for the kids to keep in mind that or that they're open to running Linux, and that really wasn't where I was going with it. It was
Hmm.
just reading the screens because they're 2 and 4, so they
Hmm.
really can't read.
Yeah.
But they'll be able to figure it out.
Hey, you're
So,
slacking. Get those kids reading.
um, so he says just to run Debian or something you know uh, with XFCE and throw some the packages on that you want.
Hmm.
Um, so
Or Mate.
yeah, yep, Mate Linux would be a
Yeah.
good one.
Or Mate Desktop.
Ubuntu Mate, yeah. Um, and then we also got an email from Julian about gcompress, and Julian says about the same thing where um, to use gcompress or just grab some other just regular Linux distro and throw a
Hmm.
couple of applications on there instead of looking for a kid specific one.
Okay.
And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, like using either Cinnamon Mint with Cinnamon or the Ubuntu Unity. Actually, I was looking at Unity for my kids because having that launcher bar on the side just with the big buttons,
Mhm.
Yep.
that would be really good for them.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'll end up using. Um, yeah, that's all I saw about that.
I got an email directly from a Brad, and he had a couple questions I was able to answer. Well, I tried answering one of them. He is interesting. He wants to move over to PF Sense, and as he likes all the FreeBSD, he likes his EFS. He has a tool called FW Builder to build a rule set. And he wanted to know if he could export from one type of firewall into another.
Mm,
Not sure, but I did send him a suggestion. I sent him a sample of what the XML file looks like for the firewall rules, and it's very human readable. It probably wouldn't, if you can export to any type of text file, then be reformatted into the XML. You can
Mhm.
just edit the XML format of things in PFSense. So you can download a config file of a PFSense box, manually look at, as long as you didn't choose the encryption on the download file,
Mhm.
you can then manually edit that config.xml file and re-upload it with all the changes. So if you had a mass amount of changes you wanted to make, for example, you just want to do a search and replace for something, so you can just change it to move it over to another firewall.
oh yeah.
That's actually a pretty easy thing to do there. And I suggest even for the firewall builder, if you can get it out to a format and you have that many rules you need to do,
Mhm.
look at converting it to look at the XML format and just add to it in PFSense, and you should be able just to re-upload that config file without having to hand do everything in there.
Nice. Yeah.
Generally, when we've set up firewalls for clients, I just follow the process in PFSense. I usually export in whichever format they have of all the rules into a list, put them in a spreadsheet, make sure they're organized, and we just key them all in and check them off as we do it.
Oh,
Just so I follow all the rules, to get. But it might be an experiment. I have not tried to see if this works, but I have a feeling it would work perfectly fine.
yeah. I'd be surprised if there's somebody out there that can take. It's already done a like a script that'll take from um, IP tables to PFSense or something like that. And I know I would assume that the firewall builder will do. It runs off of IP tables or creates IP tables
Yes.
entries. So I'd be surprised if there's already a script out there that somebody's made to do that.
Right. I also he had asked about running PFSense on a lot. He has a really nice higher end HP ProLiant server, which is a little overkill for running that. So one of the things I suggested, if you get the HP made these HP T5740 thin clients, and I actually have a couple of them that I've used for firewalls for in-home use. You can buy these, I think, including shipping. Let me see if you bought the one. I sent him a link on eBay. I've actually, yep. I wonder if he's the one that bought it. There's a guy that actually sells them, and you'll know it's he sells them pretty much PFSense, and he has a beer bottle for scale next to him. And he always says beer not included in his ads, which I think is funny. But they come with 3 NICs and wireless, but including shipping, $115.
Wow,
And
that's really good.
they pre-install with PF Sense on a thumb drive, the embedded version.
Hmm.
So he ships to you ready to go. And they're not hard to do yourself. If you can find these all over the eBay anytime you want. The only thing you have to find is the system sheet, but they have an add-in card for them. And you got to get the add-in card to get the extra NICs. But the add-in card also includes wireless, which is kind of nice because it will work as a wireless access point. So it's $115. You get PF Sense firewall with a wireless access point.
Wow, that is
So
awesome.
yeah,
Ooh.
with
What's the
all
specs on it? Do you know?
they're Intel. What's the speed of these?
Because I've really been looking at
These
for
are
something
great.
like that.
I have one at my house. Absolutely no. I forget it.
Get yourself get your foot into BSD.
Well, I'm already running PF Sense here, so
Oh, okay.
I can just export my
Oh,
settings
okay.
here and then get one of
Sure.
those because I want something small, compact, and
Uh-huh.
low power. And
They're super low power. Very very. I'm trying to remember if it's fanless. I think it has one really tiny fan. It's an Intel Atom N280 with 2 gigs of RAM,
Hmm.
which, if I'm not mistaken, will route up to 400 megs per second. I forget the specs exactly, but it'll way faster than your cable modem can push data.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's not there. And because it's running the embedded version, there's a couple things I think I talked about for PF Sense. When you run the embedded, it boots off of a flash drive, but it doesn't have as much logging capabilities
Oh yeah.
because you don't have a regular spinning hard drive in there. But you can put a spinning hard drive in here if you want to put it. A laptop hard drive will fit in this.
Hmm.
So, but it's got plenty of USB ports, and you can put them inside. It's very tiny. I mean, I should.
Can you do an NFS mount to log off to another server?
Yeah, there is some type of option. I haven't used it myself, but there's a way you can actually move. You actually load the full version and you move logging to another one. So you can actually
Yeah.
load the full version and you move logging to another mounted drive.
Okay.
So there is a way to do that. I'm not sure how it fares through updates, but
Oh
I'm sure
yeah.
there's some way to. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Seems like I read somewhere someone had modified it.
Cool. What was that model again?
It's an HP T5740 thin client. Another option is there's a lot of used Netgate hardware. So if you just type in PF Sense in eBay, you'll also find small, tiny boxes with embedded, and they're the previous older models of Netgate, and those can be bought for about $129.
Oh
So those are also a nice low-powered solution to run PF Sense in your house.
yeah. Very cool.
I'm actually looking at getting one of those as we don't have failover right now at my office, and we probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yep.
It's just another, PF Sense box. You can support failover between them for high availability, and I don't really want to throw one more server in the case. So I thought, hey, I'll just get one of these, even though it wouldn't have all the full features. Internet would work.
Right.
And that's important. So I'd lose some of the logging. Okay, I wouldn't be able to do this or that, but while we're replacing the machine, and granted, the whole process from it's broken till it's fixed was under an hour because PF Sense loads fast. We got it on a fast machine, and we put it. I got hard drives in stock, so we just threw it in there. I had a new Velociraptor drive that I wanted for the PF Sense that I had bought and set on top of it, going one day, and then one day was when it broke.
Right.
Forced
Wow.
project update.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all I had. Did you said you had one email or did
Yeah, that's email.
that
That's
was it?
email from. Yeah, that was one email with both those questions in there.
Very cool. All right. So as for
Hey,
Oh.
before we bump on, while you guys are talking amongst yourselves, I was busy at work here testing out the KD activities scenario, Tom, that you had presented. And what I did is I opened up a couple of I opened up Dolphin, and I just opened up just Kate, the text editor, and first of all I created an activity called I think I called it podcast prep. So I opened up these two in this activity, and then what I did is I ended up logging out of my session and then coming back in just to see if I could restart this activity with these two things open, and it does.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it will do that, and you
That's-
can see here. I can stop my default desktop and stay here, but I can create a new. You can have a whole bunch of different activities down here. So
I've always liked KDE, even though I don't use it all the time. I like it.
I know I do too. I tell you.
Interface wise, it's the way I think it should look.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was something I wanted to just share with you quickly. All right.
very
So
cool.
we were on what user?
was-
Listener feedback.
Listener feedback, but I guess we'll take this like a special segment here to talk about the future of the show.
It's important.
So yeah, so we're changing up the format more of that we're sticking with Linux and open source and news stuff.
With a little BSD thrown in
That's right.
as needed.
But we're gonna change up like the order of things a little bit and what we're gonna do. So
Yeah. One of those is as folks, longtime listeners know, we used to be a weekly podcast, and it kind of took its toll on us over maybe the first couple of years.
Yeah.
It was
we ran 2 years straight,
yeah,
or
with
more than
weekly.
2 years.
And it was for a while there. I was doing a review every week, and it just took up
Use
a lot of
taxing.
time. Yeah, so we ended up going to biweekly, and that seemed to work out okay. We didn't really change the format very much.
Right.
But what we are planning to do is to return to a weekly format, and and I think we had talked about one of those. Well, one week we'll focus more on news and other
Yes.
information, and then we'll have more of a tutorial slash review slash more in depth
Yes.
on the intervening week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
so-
if we do interviews and stuff, it'll be on that other week.
Mhm.
Right. And we're going to record bi-weekly and then split the show into 2 parts. So it'll be a weekly release. It'll also make the chunks a little bit easier to consume for people.
Mhm.
Yeah, much shorter.
Yeah.
Instead of doing 2-hour shows, we're
Like
looking
this
at
one is rapidly becoming. No,
right.
just kidding.
We're looking at like 45-minute to maybe an hour length for each show.
Yeah.
We're bringing structure.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So what we'll be doing then is taking 2 weeks off, or no, 3 weeks. We'll return with the new format then on August 23rd. I think it's that.
Yes,
is that
that's the
right?
next recording.
Sunday
Sunday.
Sunday morning.
We're
Well,
not
next
changing
review.
the date.
We're not changing
Right.
the name either. It's Sunday morning. So
Yeah.
there you
So
have
very
it.
cool.
Yeah.
So look forward. If you have adamant reasons why we should not be doing this, let us know.
Send
But
us an angry
we're-
email.
Right.
Yeah.
Let us know, or if you think this is a great idea, shorter shows, weekly. I think that's also would be a good thing to know that we're doing the right move.
Hmm.
I don't want to be throwing listeners away by doing this.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
hopefully this will bring more listeners for us.
Hmm.
And then also, so I'll be continuing doing the audio editing, and Tom
I'll take on
volunteered.
the video.
So yeah, so hopefully we'll have a video stream or edited video of the
Mhm.
shows also.
That'll be
And-
kind of cool.
And if,
We'll have to dress up.
we'll have to dress up. And I'm also looking at how we do annotations on the YouTube and things like that to help make links more clickable. And that way, if you hear it, like, hey, I can just go click that, and in addition to what's already in the show notes. So
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
So if you guys don't have anything more to add, then I guess we're going on to music.
Yeah.
Then to the end of the show.
do you
Alright.
have a pick? If not, I do. So
Well, I had one that Mary sent, but we can always hold on to that, and if you want, we
So,
can.
I will. What I'm on here is
People's
there's a
heads
website.
keep dropping on this map.
People's heads dropping on the map, not just any heads. And what we have here is
Johnny
Johnny
Cash.
Cash has been everywhere.com. As he sings the song, someone wrote an HTML5 script that uses Google Maps and drops it as he says each city. It drops his head on the map in the city that he's talking
Oh
Oh.
my
about.
God.
And of course, if
You
you're
got Detroit. Yeah, Detroit City.
yeah, he actually still sang several variations of the song.
Okay.
But as he sings it and the lyrics are put up here, as he goes through it, it drops his head on every city he says.
That's funny. I've been everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I won't
You
get
know-
that
yeah.
song.
Oh yeah. I remember that song.
It also calculates his distance traveled at the bottom as he goes on here.
Wow.
Yeah, they're bouncing in these.
I mean, this is just
it's hilarious.
hysterical. I love that someone put this together. This is just
That's cool. You know what? Actually, I'm afraid that that's a copyrighted song, and
There's
we might
probably
get
some
takedown
copyright
notices.
issues. So if you just want to entertain yourself and not have copyright issues, go to johnnycashhasbeeneverywhere.com.
Yeah.
Now we can go back to your song.
All right. So Mary sent me this a couple weeks ago, and then the song is called "I Don't."
I didn't. No.
It's by Dirk Becker.
once up to me as you walked away. Tried to get you in the conversation of the pop to steal third day. So when I see how you act today, when I got this myself, weren't you the one who split things up to push me back into the zone? So all these little memories mean nothing to you no more. And I'm a piece of flight to see spit on the shore.
Yeah, that's that has pretty good beat and
Yeah.
rhythm to it.
Kind of a sounds like not a country rock song, but
Right.
it's got a little bit of that. And it's a guy from Germany.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Germans know
You know,
their
it's
country
interesting.
rock.
Yeah, on Jamando, there's a lot of German music that's in
Mhm.
English and is
Hmm.
you know, it's some pretty good stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
All right, so we've come to the end of the show. This was episode 156.
SMLR 1.99999.
999. Yes.
999.
This is Tony Bemis.
Mary Tomich.
And Thomas Lawrence.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah. August 23rd. All right. We kill
All right. Do you want to do coming
yeah.
up in the
oh
show?
yeah, coming up in this show. Yep.
All right, so
I
YouTube
forgot
listeners.
the Linux convention scene.
Oh no,
Oh,
Well,
all right.
did you? Oh,
No, it's already too long. Show's
Okay.
already too long.
Yeah.
That's all right.
well, we're at
There are a couple good ones, but that's okay.
one. It's 149 is
Oh,
the
my
recording,
God.
but
Yeah, but you're not gonna.
there's like 10 minutes before that it was recording. But
It's
so we're at
too
we'll
over
just
an
do it
hour and a
till-
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the show.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're not gonna do it. I can't
We can
believe
throw it
that.
in the show notes.
I spent at least a half an hour looking for that.
Put it
Ah,
in the
forget
show
it.
notes.
Yeah, throw it
You're
in the
right.
show
Yeah.
notes.
Hey, you know what we should do?
Check the show notes for the
yeah, yeah,
Linux convention scene.
Yeah.
that's what we should do. Yeah, and all right. Let's see here. In this episode of the Sunday Morning Linux Review, we will take a look at Ubuntu Mate, this very interesting Ubuntu-based distro with the Mate desktop. Just find out whether I like it or I don't like it. I do like it. We'll also cover some interesting news. We're going to talk a little bit about cars. I think, Tom, you've got some interesting stuff to say about that.
Yep. The G-Pack and Windows 10 are two different things we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Tony, we'll have your very lucid comments and contributions.
Yeah, a few articles I actually found this week.
So stay tuned for Sunday Morning Linux Review.
Yep, and also check the show notes for the
Linux convention
Linux
scene,
Linux convention scene.
Yeah,
which we will not say today, but we'll have it in the show notes.
that's right. And this was August 2nd, 2015. All right. Goodbye,
Cut.
YouTube people.
Kill it.
Thanks for listening.